Hey everyone, Zeddy here again to the brand new video, and yesterday we went over the top 5 decks to hit Legend with in Standard, and today we are going to look at the top 5 Wild decks. Shocking, I know, right? So let's get going. Let's get started with the biggest powerhouse in Wild, and it recently got nerfed, but is arguably better than ever, and that is Quest Mage. Yes, it was recently nerfed. We had Open the Waygate go from 6 spells you need to cast to 8 that you need to cast that didn't start in your deck. Honestly, hasn't done much, and the nerfs to decks like Odd Demon Hunter and to especially Darkest Hour Warlock have made the deck a little bit less vulnerable. There's less bad matchups, so the deck has performed well across all ranks. I've recently, even though I've barely been playing Wild, been playing a little bit off stream here and there, I've been consistently top 20 with it. So I'm highlighting my list here. It doesn't run Book of Specters because I hate the card, but you might want to consider running it. A lot of people still run 2 of it, but what are some of the changes that have happened since the at least since the last time I've talked about it on stream with the rotation? We have Evocation, one of the powerhouses in the deck, one of the best cards in the deck now, which is what really has helped put Quest Mage even more over the top like it needed it. It's 1 mana, fill your hand with random mage spells and discard them in your turn. You save it for like Apprentice, Cyclone turns, and Waker. You can just do absolutely broken stuff, complete your quest, push 1,000,000 damage, generate a bunch of random spells. Crazy card, and sometimes it's just like a YOLO, like I have no option, let's just play Evocation, see if I can get out of a sticky situation, and it can work out quite well. We also have an addition of Squire to the deck. I have found this to be a very underrated card by a lot of people. I lose my mind. People are like, it's like a loot hoarder. It draws you a card. No, it's a 2 mana 3/1 death rattle. Draw a spell from your deck. Getting spells into your hand is just super important. It is a lot more relevant now with the nerf because getting the spell requirement done is a little bit trickier, and you really don't want to mill cards like Evocation. So Starcry, you play it on 2, you force your opponent typically to ping or have to remove it, or else it's getting a good value trade, and you're drawing a card. You're getting a spell in your hand for your Cyclone, for your Flame Waker, and the card is just done really, really well for me. My win rate with this version of the deck is somewhere between like 70-75%. And yeah, you have the rest is basically unchanged. You have your Sorcerer's Apprentice Flame Waker to basically get the tempo you need to clear the board, generate spells, push a bunch of damage. You have your insane 2-drops that either cycle with Questing Explorer or get you spells like the Coin to ramp or just abuse Flame Waker with License Adventurer. You have your defensive cards in Ray of Frost, and of course you just win the game with Giants and Quest, or if you want to throw Vargoth in there. If you're feeling like you're not consistently winning against like the slower decks, you're facing a lot of slow decks, you can consider Vargoth maybe instead of a 4th Giant. Deck's very good. Will definitely get you a lot of success. It's not the easiest deck to play, despite what some would believe, so you might need to practice a little bit. But with the right practice and the right amount of dedication, this deck can certainly get you to Legend. Next on the list, we have the best aggro deck in ladder, kind of taking over the Even Shaman's spot, and that is Odd Demon Hunter. I believe I'm featuring Corbet's list here, which he has done very well with. And it just, what does the deck do? Well, it has one of the best hero powers, period, in the game. 1 mana, deal 2 damage. And is absolutely insane. You have your really good Demon Hunter cards like Satyr Overseer. You have especially Warglaives of Azzinoth, which can be insane. You equip it, you have 5 damage that you can attack with multiple times. It like clears the entire board and you get to push a bunch of damage, which is insane. You have your cheap lifesteal options with Eldraki Warblades. You have Eyebeam. You can cheat stuff out with Happy Ghoul. Happy Ghoul is an interesting addition to the deck. You have Mana Burn. Mana Burn can be very powerful. You play like just any, like you cheat out a couple cheap minions that play Mana Burn, and no deck can answer you. You're going to hit them in the face because they have no mana, and then you just push in with like Lotheb, Metamorphosis, Priestess of Fury. There are so many burst options, and the deck can just completely snowball. You have the early game Pirates with South Sea Deck Cannon patches, and you have, you know, your win more cards like Hench Clan Thug that can keep getting buffed, and well, it works pretty well when you can attack multiple times in a turn, and he gets even bigger. The deck is definitely a powerhouse. It's guided a lot of people to first time Legend in Wild, and yeah, it's fallen off a little bit, just a little bit, because the nerfs did impact the deck, but still, despite the nerfs, it is one of the best decks in Wild, one of the most consistent, fast decks, and you definitely can't go wrong smorking it up with some odd Demon Hunter. Next on the list, we have what deck I was not expecting to really be that prevalent after the Bloodbloom nerf, but is very popular, and that's Mechathun Warlock. Well, wait a minute, Bloodbloom got nerfed. How is this a good Legend deck? Well, turns out you have another option that arguably might be better than Bloodbloom, so maybe the nerf made Mechathun Warlock better because people realize we need to find another way to make it work. So, what am I talking about? Well, this is Mechathun Warlock as featured. I believe this is Swagwar's list. It is used, you cycle through your deck as you did it in prior days, and you kill the board with your cheap removal like Plague of Flames and Defile, all of that. But the combo is not the same. It's no longer Emperor and then you Bloodbloom, Mechathun Cataclysm. No, you run Dullmaster, Dorian, and Kel'Thas Sunstrider. So what you want to do is you draw through your deck, and you either draw through your entire deck, or you slam Emmett on 6, which then nukes all the cheap cards in your deck. You're basically you're at the late game stage, and on like turn 7 and 8, you can just win by you play Dullmaster Dorian, you play Plot Twist, and that'll shuffle all the minions back in your deck. And as long as you have no cards left, you can then play a cheap spell with Kel'Thas. And then you play Cataclysm for 0 mana, and you win the game. So the combo is different, but it doesn't require an Emperor setup. You can actually just play this straight from in hand. Your opponent can't really anticipate or counterplay it other than killing you or like trying to dirty rat you or Loatheb you. It's pretty insane. And you have also a new early game card, Unstable Fellbolt, just really good early game removal. 1 mana, deal 3. Typically won't hit any of your minions. If it does, it's like a Runic Egg and you don't care. The deck is proven to be pretty good. It can beat up on aggro, it can heal up, and yeah, you can combo extremely quickly. You can beat like Raza Priest with this. It's still somewhat weak to Quest Mage, but overall it has shown a pretty good win rate across the board against most decks in the meta. So yeah, if you're still longing for Mechathun Warlock and were worried it was gone with the Bloodbloom nerf, it ain't gone, and it can be a very, very powerful deck. Next on the list, we have Reno Priest. Reno Priest as in Raza Priest. Raza was recently unnerfed to make your hero power cost 0 again. And well, yeah, Raza Priest is back, and it is definitely a player in the Wild ladder. You play Raza, you get the 0 mana hero power. You play Anduin, which gives you deal 2 damage, and you can kill your opponent with an insane damage burst with Prophet Velen with your Spawn of Shadows combo, and you just have all the AoE in the world with this deck because, well, you're Priest. Priest just gets all the AoE. You have Psychic Scream, Mass Hysteria. You can run the Dragon package and put Dustbreaker. You can put Shadow of Ruin. You can put so many different cards in the deck for AoE options. You have Spirit Lash for healing. You can run Penance for healing. You can try out Renew. There's so many options. I'm highlighting a list that got like top 10 Legend that runs a bunch of Dragon stuff. But honestly, I don't think the optimal refined Raza Priest list is quite out there yet. I've seen lists that run Auctioneer for Cycle. It really depends on the meta. So I'm just going to highlight this list, but keep a lookout for other ones that might be able to get you there as well. But this one's shown some success. It runs some janky stuff, like Geist seems kind of bad, and Kazan Mystic seems kind of bad, but it's done well for somebody. We're going to highlight it. But yeah, Raza Priest, it really thrives against basically anything that's not Quest Mage. Quest Mage is your worst nightmare. You basically are going to auto-lose to it. So that's the main consideration you want to pick when playing, whether you want to climb with Raza Priest. If you're not facing much Quest Mage, you're just facing a bunch of aggro, a bunch of Warlock, you're going to do well. This deck does very well across the board. It's just the Quest Mage matchup and probably Secret Mage that can be very difficult. So I definitely recommend it. It's definitely a throwback to a time if you're nostalgic towards the deck back in the day. It can do a lot of work. So keep that in mind. Just if you are facing a lot of Secret Mage, it's definitely not the deck you're going to want to play. So yeah, I'll throw that one out there. And lastly, I'm going to throw out Jade Druid. Jade Druid is another deck that has done very well. Can beat almost anything unless you get Geisted, which feels terrible. But most people don't run Geist because it's not great in the meta. So what has changed about the deck, at least recently? Well, 2 new additions for the latest expansion have really pushed this over the top. You have Fungal Fortunes, the 2 mana draw 3 spells from your deck. You'll discard if you'll discard minions if they're drawn, but you basically run one minion. You run Kael'thas. So unless you're really unlucky, you're going to draw 3 spells, which is very powerful. And then you have Overgrowth, the 4 mana spell that gives you 2 mana crystals. So typically you want to play like Fungal Fortunes into Jade Blossom, into Overgrowth, and then you go off with Kael'thas into a bunch of cheap spells, into your UIs and overflows. You can just ramp into Malfurion, Spreading Plague, Starfall, all your AoEs, all your armor gain. This deck is just very powerful, can out-armor a lot of stuff. Even Quest Mage it can out-armor. Very good against aggro when you have Spreading Plague and all of that. It's just a very low-key, powerful deck, and one I would recommend playing. It's weird that Oaken Summons is no longer a staple, but yes, Fungal Fortunes and Overgrowth are just that good that you definitely want to run them. Highly recommend the deck. Great for that Legend climb, and yeah, you're facing a lot of aggro, a lot of mid-range decks. You're gonna stomp them with this. Its weakest matchups are probably to like Quest Mage, to Mechathun Warlock, and Q-Block. So be wary of that if you're running into those matchups. But other than that, you'll probably do pretty well. Even the Raza Priest, which can be difficult, you can out-armor and out-pressure them, especially with big Kael'thas turns. So recommend the deck. So there are 5 wild decks you can definitely get Legend with. Got some aggro options, combo options, control options, a lot of cool stuff. Hope you enjoy. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. And yeah, have a great day and stay salty, my friends.